Hello, beautiful souls. This is going to be a reading about movement delayed while choices are made. Which rhymes, doesn't it? If you made your way here from the little YouTube short that I made, welcome. Trying to experiment a little bit more with these YouTube tools. I'm going to go ahead and do this as a blackout reading, mostly because my camera's not fantastic at night. I've been trying to do this reading since mid-afternoon, but you know how sometimes things get. And the funny thing is, what's this reading about, right? Movement delayed, momentum delayed, right? And so when I started this, I actually decided to pull one of my homophone cards out, and it has the which, as in WHICH, like which do you choose? And it has one hand has a cookie, looks like a chocolate chip cookie, and the other hand has a red delicious apple, right? Now, I suppose if you've evolved enough, you realize that you could have both. Like, it's not going to hurt you to have a little bit of both. But in this situation, the energy that I'm sensing is there's somebody, it seems more of a masculine energy, but I do feel feminine energies in this too. I'm kind of lifting all labels. So if you feel like this is related to your twin flame journey, that's cool. If it's, related to something else, apply it where it feels like it resonates. But it feels like there's this energy of like, do I choose this very sweet thing that I like, this indulgent thing? Or do I choose, actually, it feels like two things. It feels like that. Or do I choose the apple that I know is healthy for me? And then it feels like on the other side of going, but they can both be good for me. You know what I mean? Like the cookie, when it's not in excess, is a good thing to have. And when you get some of those feel good hormones when you have sugar and things like that, as long as you don't do it in excess, you're good, right? And the same with the apple. Like, you could really change your viewpoint and look at the apple as the thing that is really the delicious dessert. And some people just naturally, they don't have to go through realizing that it's healthier. They just already felt that way. So something about that resonates, but it feels like there's definitely this energy of like sitting in this space of like, which one do I choose? They both have their pros and they both have their cons. Like you could have a bunch of cookies and not have to put in the effort that it takes to eat an apple. And if you have a bunch of cookies, you might feel really good. But at the same time, if you eat a bunch of cookies and you have no apples, you're going to get too much sugar in there. You might get some ketoacidosis. It's not going to feel very good. It's not great for your teeth, right? So like, a cookie here and there, not a big deal, but a lot of cookies over time, not good for the body, right? And then on the other side with the apple, like, like apples can be totally delicious and they're good for you, though they do take more effort. You either got to slice them up or you got to bite into them, you got to wash them, you got to do all that. There's prep involved with it. You maybe even need to get an apple tree so that you can grow your own apples, right? So like, do you go for the convenient cookie? It's already made and already ready to go? Or do you go with growing your own apples and enjoying the process of that over time is going to be way more beautiful for your body and mind? Like, which one do you choose? And then I asked Spirit for some cards from the regular Rider-Waite deck. That was like, okay, tell me more. Wow, my deck just like totally fell over from the Heart of the Matter on. That's very interesting. Sorry, when I'm saying, I was checking for tell me more, I am thinking about pulling some more cards anyways, but that's interesting that it went from there and it took with it the Heart of the Matter card. But we'll get to that in a minute. I guess just keep that in mind, that it's like, I suppose it feels like the energy of like, if you've been in a situation where people have not been forthcoming with information and you're like, please tell me more. I need or want these details so I can make good choices, that they're getting ready to communicate more. So I'm getting the message that maybe not necessarily in the easiest, most direct form of communication, especially if that's what you prefer, but there will be communication. Like, keep an eye out for it. It's there, like it's already there, but there'll be more of it in some sort of way like that. In any case, when I asked the cards earlier about Like, okay, I would like some more information. And funny enough, at that time, I mean, like, a card popped out pretty quick, but it was just one card. And I mean, lately the deck has been like, 2, 3 cards at a time. So, and then I decided to pull one more card. So it's kind of one of those, like, you can have some information, but you can't have all of the information. And you probably kind of get the sense of, like, you don't want too much information, that sort of thing. So if this resonates with the situation that you're thinking about, consider that. There are times when it is good that you don't know so much. That doesn't necessarily mean don't ask for information or don't do your due diligence or be, willfully ignorant about things. But if you're asking for information and you're not getting it, kind of consider that a little bit of like rejection protection. Like, even if you should have that information, even if it shouldn't be hidden information, things like that, like, you will find out soon enough why you didn't get that information. And I have a feeling it'll make you feel, in the end, really happy. Like, it's probably something that, like, you knew that it wasn't like an above background thing that should be happening, and that's why you wanted to know about it so you could make decisions about things like that. But when you find out later, it'll likely be that things happened in such a way that protected you from various situations. You never know. In any case, the first card that had come out was the World card reversed. The second card that came out was the Chariot reversed. And one of my first thoughts on that was like, oh, movement, like, right? The World card, typically, like, first thought in my mind is completion, right? It's the 21st card in the major arcana, which, then starts over and we get the Fool. And so, like, it's like, okay, an incomplete situation, or a situation that is not completed, or a situation that is like recycling to a certain degree. And then with the Chariot card, it's like, okay, so we've got, some sort of movement that was happening. And this may have been some stuff that, like, you've already been seeing a pattern of this going on, I want to say, for a while, or you may have just noticed it recently. And it feels like one of those, like, if you're listening to this, you have been aware of the cycles. Like, you may be intentionally participating in them, or you may be pulling yourself away from them, or you may just be becoming aware of them. Either way, like, you know what I'm talking about. That's all I can say. Like, there's so many different people that are going to resonate with this that it's, like, hard to pinpoint the one energy to, like, you and you, but you will know what I'm talking about, because this, like, especially the World in reverse, like, this is some sort of a cycle that has to do with addictive qualities. That could directly be like drinking and drugs and stuff like that, but there are other things that are also addictive, like drama can be addictive, abuse cycles can be addictive, even just like repeating things that our parents did in our relationships or with our kids, that kind of thing can be an addiction. It can be gambling. Money itself can become a form of addiction, workaholism, different things of that nature. So somehow, there is some form or way that exists both within you, maybe not to the same degree as what you're seeing around you, but it's still, like, it exists there. Like, look for the reflection, because this is part of what Spirit is kind of bringing in. Like, there's these cycles going on that are addictive cycles. So look for the things for you that for you are kind of like compulsive, like things that you do that may not be all that great for you, but you continue to do them anyways, because this is kind of like the highlight of things that are there to work on. Now, when I looked at some of the other cards, I pulled some other cards and I really sat with the World reverse and the Chariot reverse. I'm really getting the feeling that actually this has to do with like actual moving, like moving and housing and things like that. And that it's funny. It's like the which one thing. I feel like there is two energies of this. There is one energy of like assured housing movement, and then there's this other energy of something that should have been assured but isn't. And like, you don't really know which one is which. But either way, what you're looking at with the cycles is like, I don't want to put it, like, you're looking at what is creating the delay, right? So I started looking in the rest of the deck for, more clues. And I'm probably going to pull some more cards on some of these ones that I got. So I look on the bottom for the shadow card and the querent card, and then I pulled the heart of the matter, which is in the center of the deck, and then the hot topic. Now, what immediately stood out to me is the hot topic. The card on top is the Empress in upright. So, like, this could be you, this could be someone else, but this is like this is a mother energy of somebody who is flowing, somebody who's just mostly in observation, like. And it's funny because that Empress energy is both somebody who is like just sitting there, almost like it feels like someone sitting in plain sight of you, right? I suppose hiding in plain sight is kind of a weird way to say it. But it's somebody who, like, they're sitting there. They're allowing things to flow to them, to come in and out, to do things like that. But they're also, like, energetically moving all around, I suppose. Like, not in a chaotic way, but just in a, like, they've learned how to send their energy out to manifest things back to them. And, like, this isn't a, I don't know, I suppose with the Empress energy, a lot of times there can be kind of this perception of not laziness, but she doesn't, I mean, she's sitting, she doesn't move. She just says, I want that thing, and it comes to her, right? Like, that's the Empress energy. But it feels like a busy Empress energy. Like, she's kind of like, she's always doing something, even if she's not doing anything. Let's put it that way. And it's interesting because the cards, the way that they laid out in the rest of the shuffle in the deck is very opposite to that. So there, we have this Empress energy as the hot topic. And for me, the hot topic is like what's at the forefront of everybody's mind. Like, what are people openly talking about? What is the thing that, like, if you were to see it on the headlines, it'd be right there. And it's a positive card. It's really kind of funny, like, and then in the heart of the matter, so in the center, we have the 10 of Swords reversed. And it's interesting because I actually decided to, like, refresh myself a little bit more. I know some of the basic rote meanings of all the tarot cards, but everybody's got different interpretations. And it's interesting because I was listening to a couple of different just shorts from other people on it, and what came into my mind was that it's like those swords. So you can think of swords in another light. You can think of them as prayers, right? And another reader, it's interesting too, like when I look at the 10 of Swords reverse in the past, I often saw it as like, well, instead of those swords like pinning him down, like they're still on the ground, but the figure is like sliding onto the swords, so it's like worse, right? Which can be oftentimes interpreted as the meaning of the 10 of Swords reverse. But someone else saw it as those 10 swords then fall out of your back. It's a recovery, right? And funny enough, the card does have both meanings. But I was thinking about that notion of, like, what if those were 10 prayers, right? Like 10 prayers, 10 thoughts, 10 manifestations that, like, they were things that they were betrayals. They were things that stabbed you in the back, and now they're falling out, which is like, okay. So what could that be about? So then I looked underneath that card to see what's going on. We have King of Cups reversed. We have the Ace of Swords reversed. We have Death reversed. 2 of Wands, 6 of Wands, Ace of Wands, 5 of Cups. And in looking through it, it's like, okay, so some sort of a situation was created by an Empress. Or not created. No, that's not the right word. Kicked over. Kicked over. That's a more appropriate thing. Like 5 of Cups style. It's like, imagine you're the character in the 5 of Cups, and like the 3 cups that are usually kicked over are up, and you don't notice the poison in one of those cups, and then suddenly, like, Goddess self snaps her fingers, and she comes in and she kicks over the 3 cups and says, look, see, one was poisoned. Like, you don't want to drink those. And it's kind of one of those situations where it's like, if you have somebody that's been juggling a certain situation and they think that both are good, the cookie and the apple kind of thing, they don't realize the cookie's going to poison them over time. Like, it feels good in this small moment, so what do I got to worry about? But you come in and you're like, but if you keep doing that over time, you're going to poison yourself, right? And so, like, whoever this Empress figure is, whether it's you or somebody else, like, they came in and they were just like, look, and they knocked over the Three of Cups, right? Which could have been a situation, like, there could have been partying. This could be part of the addiction cycle, things like that. Just triangulation in general. And this Empress came in and, like, she's just like snapped her fingers and was like, see, it's right there. It's right in front of you, like right in front of you. And so this energy, whether I feel like it's like, again, I feel like a small part of it is you, but it's also somebody that you're more observing from the other end. Like, those cups were kicked over, new thoughts started to grow and place there, like the seeds were planted, it turned into new communication. It created kind of a small amount of like, it created definitely a movement, like, a coming home kind of feel. And, like, what, yes, if I make different choices, I can see the world in a different perspective. I can continue forward in a different direction. But there's these old cycles, these old karmic cycles that just keep coming in, and a lot of them are deception based, like hiding the truth, hiding from the truth. And it has a lot to do with fatherhood, especially that King of Cups reversed. And especially if you or someone has got a lot of, like, Cancerian, Piscean, Scorpio energy, or there's just things to deal with that, right? So this Ten of Swords situation, these prayers, it's like, it feels like the prayers of somebody that's, like, been caught in these cycles. And they've also been, like, caught by the Empress, so to speak. Like, the Empress is, here's the thing about the Empress, right? Yes, she's sitting comfy on her throne, but that does not mean that she does not have Huntress in her. She's effectively a goddess, right? She can get up and smite you if she really wants to, and that doesn't necessarily put her in reverse Empress position either, which is very Diva-like. Like, the upright Empress is pretty badass on her own. Like, she can come down and she just wave her scepter at you and be like, you want to bet? Like, she can do that kind of thing. But mostly, she is a being of light. She's a light being. So she's going to illuminate various situations. She's not necessarily going to come in with you like come in at you like the Queen of Swords. She's not going to, like, swipe at you. She's just going to illuminate the various things that you need to see, sort of like that Five of Cups situation. So, she didn't create the situation you're in, but she may have created moments that were Five of Cups, like, and that, like I said, that could be you. Somebody could have done that for you, or you could have done that for someone else, or this could be something that you're seeing happen. Either way, like, she was like, no, I think I'm going to show you the truth. Right? Here it is. And so then that created this Ten of Swords reverse situation where it's like, it's kind of a recovery, but it's also, like, it's a good recovery and a not good recovery. So it's like a recovery of a situation where there's indecision, where there's juggling, right? Do I choose the cookie? Do I choose the apple? Do I choose the cookie? Do I choose the apple? Right? And the same could be said in a way of the Five of Cups, right? Like, okay, so there was a poison cup there, but man, it was fun, that Three of Cups situation. And maybe if I'm just more careful, or I pour my own drinks or something like that, like, I could totally enjoy this. But there was poison in it. I don't really want to be around people that are going to poison my drinks, whether intentionally or an accident, right? So, like, it's the recreation of a situation of juggling. However, what I strongly sense, and I had a synchronicity to this a few times recently too, is like, whereas in the past you may have been in a situation where you're, like, dealing with somebody who keeps juggling you, or different situations or things like that, and you're like, this is fucked up, you need to make a choice. This is one of those where it's like, you were in a juggling situation, or they were in a juggling situation, and it was leading downhill to, like, a Ten of Swords type situation. But then, because of prayers, maybe your prayers, their prayers, others' prayers, like, it went juggling, then Ten of Swords. Well, I'm gonna say Ten of Swords reverse, like keeping a dead situation alive, like, in recovery of, like, the cycle keeps continuing. But then it turned it into, like, a Ten of Swords upright and then a Ten of Swords reverse again into a positive recovery, to where now there's juggling again, but this time it's going towards juggling towards making healthier, more positive decisions. But I'm very much getting the energy, though, overall of like that Divine Circus card, the Death Shall Not Take Him. So, like, if you're just looking at it 3D wise, it, it looks very plain, of like kind of like a player continuing to be a player sort of thing. Like, only those like in that Empress energy can really tell the difference. It's subtle, right? Now, in the shadow card position and in the Querent card, we have the Page of Swords reversed, which is interesting because when I dropped the cards and picked them up, now it's upright. And there's a couple of cards that it's interesting because I had my deck set out while I was doing things today, and like, along the driving path, a couple of cards that were one way turn themselves another way, and in most of these cases, it's like a reverse card that went upright. So the Page of Swords typically is, they're bold energy, but they can also be a bratty energy. It's usually a youthful, masculine energy, a child of some kind. Now, in reverse, it's like a child who you can't trust, a child who is sneaky, but also a child who is like done with your sneakiness too. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a combination of that. It can also be the energy of like speaking the truth to create like it's like speaking the truth to right wrongs, but maybe not doing it in a uber ethical way, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. And I like to look underneath that too. So that's interesting because we had the Knight of Cups, and I remember before that it was upright, and then just now, like when I dropped it earlier in the reading, it was reversed. So like that, let's look at that just on its own. So, okay, originally Page of Swords, and right underneath him is the Knight of Cups, right? So we have another young man energy. We have kind of this like later childhood to mid-teenage years, somebody with messages, somebody who is emotional, who is pursuing some sort of situation that maybe had to do with thievery or speaking truths that others did not want them to speak, like some sort of situation like that. Now, if we go with where they turned when the cards just went in their own direction, we have the Page of Swords upright with the Knight of Cups then, right? So then it's like somebody who is running away from a situation that is maybe inappropriately romantic, or maybe even was appropriately romantic, but they just weren't ready for it. And then, going into this Page of Swords situation, so there's like truth needing to be spoken. Truth can set you free, it can ground you, it can, bring a situation where you feel rooted, even with some of your fancier thoughts, your flights of fancy kind of thing, right? I'm going to go ahead and leave them that way. I feel like that's kind of an indication that it's like it's both messages. So like there's somebody who is pursuing, I feel like there's like somebody who is pursuing a child energy, like maybe a teenager, and also another energy of like somebody that was trying to like, it's like somebody's pursuing the energy of somebody who's telling the truth when they don't want them to, and pursuing the energy of a child who is not telling the truth when they want them to, sort of thing. Yeah. Anyways, you know what it is too, is I think the deck ended up just going, no? See, a lot of these cards got turned around. It's interesting. I'm just taking another look at them now, like now that they're, because it's like not all of the cards got reversed. It's not like I just picked it up upside down. It like they didn't quite scatter, but when I picked them up, they're, some are in a different order than the others. So yeah, so in looking at these cards, right, let's go back to where it feels right here. there's some sort of a situation. It's like a feminine who, like, she surrounds herself with children, but she's really not like a motherly sort. She's very much a grudge holder. She wears her rose colored glasses. She often has like chaos going on. And there's some sort of situation where, like, a masculine in particular, like, he has like an unformed plan, something to do with housing, something to do with housing and commitments, but it's like he had so many different plans, so many different unhealthy boundaries, so many different things going on that it just didn't, like, they all scattered. It's like a pick up sticks game. Like, they're there and you can pick them up and redo it, but like, because you just tossed them in the air, it created a situation where this like reverse Queen of Cups sword is very like just upset about it, and especially upset about some sort of relationship in the past that, like, there was some sort of leap of faith that was taken. Maybe she's in a state of like, I can't believe I took this risk with you kind of thing. Or maybe that's what you or another energy is thinking. But either way, it's like there was a family situation that, like, on the outside, if you didn't ask any questions, it looked like a decent family situation, but really it was just the illusion of a good family situation. And it feels like that Queen of Cups definitely had Queen of Swords energy in there, but like, again, it kind of feels somewhat like that Empress energy too, to where like somebody came in and was like, that's not how it really is. You know what I mean? Like, put their hand up, like, come closer, let me tell you the truth. Like, let me tell you what's really going on. And that created a situation. It feels like a situation where somebody was coming up on contracts that had to do with keeping children from telling the truth. And now that has been reversed, and it's a situation where they gained money in that way in the past, and now it's kind of like they have to return that money in a way, or now those contracts are not going to come through. You know what I mean? And they really got to consider the situation that they were pursuing. Now, I'm going to put these cards just down here because I actually think, because of the way that the deck changed itself around, I don't know that I necessarily need to draw more cards for clarity. There's some sort of a situation that, like, a light worker, a light being type, a divine feminine type has been observing a cycle of some kind that was supposed to be done with, but now there is like delay on that again, some sort of delayed movement because of choices, like, what do I choose? And I pulled from my divine energy deck and I got card 27, walking away in reverse. So, like, again, it's like walking away in reverse is one of those cards that's very much like, I was going to go this direction, but maybe now I don't want to. I was walking away, but maybe now I'm coming back, right? Like, kind of that return of things. And it feels like that has to do with the choice, whatever the decision is. Like, maybe somebody who had previously seemed to be walking away from a situation, maybe with you, or maybe you with them, or something like that, is deciding, maybe it's not a good idea to walk away from this situation, and in some timelines, this also feels like somebody who was going to walk away from a situation that was not healthy for them and is going back into it. Maybe there's some loose ends they got to tie up. Maybe there's some more karma that they have to learn in there. Maybe there's some more dharma to gain, some sort of thing like that. And then I pulled from my Oracle of Ascendance deck, and the first card, this is another one that flipped itself. So the first card I got was Virgo in reverse, right? And then it uprighted itself. And what I think is interesting too is, so like, Virgo in reverse is very much about recognizing when you're overthinking and overanalyzing things, right? And because it can get you into that analysis paralysis, that choice paralysis. And then what we see in the rest of the deck, that there's this stuff going on to do with choosing. Now, at this point, I remembered a message earlier that came to me, that was like, it's about this thing, it's about some karma having to do with, like, someone who looked at someone else and said, you're not invited, as a means of like trying to hurt them, exclude them, make them feel a certain negative way. And whether it's you or someone else, like now the karma is coming back to them, and they are not being invited to something or multiple somethings that they really like. It's kind of one of those, it's a mixture between they never in their lives would have expected not to have been invited for any reason, and then on the other side it feels like one of those, like, how do I put it? It's like the energy of, like, they put in all their efforts, they put in their blind loyalty, they did the things that they were told to do, even including a fair amount of them that they knew were not right to do, including this "you're not invited" thing. They did it anyways, and it feels like they did what they were supposed to do, and still ended up getting the karma of not being invited to some, like, key things that they really felt like they should have been invited to. And also, I just got a side energy too, that this could be from someone you know who maybe participated in that and knew that it was wrong and inappropriate, and now is like reversing that onto the person that told them to do that. Kind of like I noticed the pattern for a while, and probably mostly 2020, but also in 2021 and a little bit in 2022, is that, like, when people would give me advice to certain situations, and I knew that it was cruel, that they would not like that if it happened in reverse and things like that. Like, I didn't do it intentionally, though some people pointed out to me later that there were several situations that would occur to where someone would tell me something like that. I usually did not do it, and then they would get upset that I did not do it. And then the way that I would end up exiting the relationship without planning it out that way would in effect do to them what they told me to do to someone else. And in the very rare occasions that I did do something, and I took the advice, I participated in the drama, it was almost even worse when, the tables were turned and it was me leaving them in that situation going, this ain't healthy, and I'm not happy that I listened to you when you told me to do that, kind of thing. So this kind of feels like a combination of, like, in some timelines, somebody did something that they shouldn't have. They took some bad advice, and now they're getting the karma of that. That has to do with not being invited to something important, something, fairly significant, that really, that they're like it hurts their heart that they were not invited to it. And then on the other timeline, it's like somebody who was told to do that, who already recognizes how messed up that is, then doing something to maybe, like, exit a situation or create boundaries or fairness of some kind that ends up being that karma to that person that told everyone to do it that way or to do things a certain way, right? And so what's interesting too is, like, I got that message earlier, and then so not long ago, that card fell on the floor, and it fell in a way that it was then upright, and I was like, it feels like it should be upright in that. So it feels like that message is important. And, like, now, Virgo and its positive energy, that's like a positive recovery of health, which could fit to that, that Ten of Swords situation in the heart of the matter. Like, because oftentimes the Ten of Swords thing can be a health related thing. Now, so can the World card in reverse. It's not usually health related, but when we have those cards combined, in the same read, then it can be like, maybe there was a situation that, the cycles continued over and over and over again until, like, the person who kept choosing the cookie realized that the cookie was actually poison. Having so many cookies over time was poisoning them, and that really they should have chosen the apple. They should have chosen to plant the apple seed, to till the soil, to do the work, to grow the tree, to spend the 4 or 5 or 10 years it takes for apples to come on the tree, and then to have enjoyed those juicy apples, right? Like, they were looking at something that was like, gosh, that would just take so long, and I don't know if I really want to invest the time I have now for something that would take so long to get to. So they kept choosing the cookie, right? But maybe they ended up in a situation where their health ain't doing too well. They're seeing the doctors a lot, but what it suggests to me, especially with the energy in it, is this is one of those, like, so what I'm going to say is this: the way I started this reading is still relevant. There's still somebody who is making choices. I was going to say indecisive, but I actually feel like they're less indecisive than they were before. But they are looking at times when they made choices in the past. They're really being more metacognitive and thinking about their thinking and thinking about what got me to this place. And this is creating the energy of recovery. It does not necessarily mean that all things are going to be hunky and dory, but it in terms of like self-help, mental health, physical health, things like that Virgo typically rules over, there's going to be some kind of a recovery on that end. And it's not, I don't want to say it's going to be like a miraculous recovery, but kind of one of those where there may have been like a really kind of hopeless outlook on things, and it probably felt very real, was maybe actually a very big potential, but there's going to be like information that comes through that's like, oh, you're actually going to be fine. Or, yeah, you've got a condition you got to deal with for most of your life, but it's really not going to get in the way of that much if you take care of yourself. If you choose the apple, if you choose to grow the apple instead of going to the store just to buy cookies, Yeah. Yeah. So let's go with that energy. Now, the other card that I got was a new one for me. And I hope that I'm pronouncing it right. I believe it's Se He Ki, or it might be She He Ki. And it is, I'm just going to read it to you because I can't show it to you on the blackout screen. It says, this is considered to be the second symbol in traditional Reiki, given during the second degree, level 2, and viewed as the mental emotional symbol. Translated, Shihiki means roughly divine and humanity become one. It is most often used when there is an emotional release needed or a buildup of emotion in a recipient. Drawing it, imagining it, or chanting it 3 times can invoke its power. When this symbol appears in your reading, emotional release is being indicated. Have you been bottling your feelings? Is it out of fear or because of pain? The gentle, soothing energy of Shihiki tells you that release is okay and that it is there to help guide and let it go if you need help. This emotional release is necessary not only to maintain health and well-being, but also to help you clear and balance the emotional blockage that is attached, whatever the situation may be. Shihiki is a gentle, guiding hand to help you clear and release. So, like, that was the last card that I pulled for all this, and I was like, as soon as I pulled that, I was like, yeah, like, what's funny? That totally makes sense because, like, look, we have this upright empress observing all this stuff. It's kind of a lot of drama. It's a lot of like, okay, cycle, repeat, cycle, repeat, cycle, repeat. Um, you know, cycles that should be ending that are going back again, and movement stuff, but it is leading to a good situation. You know what I mean? And, the divine and the human become one, really. Well, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and leave this here. If you have any questions or you'd like a reading on this, go ahead and email me. Otherwise, thanks for your likes, shares, and subscribes.